Good morning, everybody. We're live from the birdhouse and we are rolling into June, so it's starting to get warmer out. People are starting to see some different bird activity. There's lots of nesting activity still going on. People are still reporting orioles coming to eating their jelly, but over the next week or so, probably, you might see some of that activity wane. So we'll talk about different ways that you can still attract orioles even if you don't have your jelly out. And today, we'll show you some of the different products that have been really popular this year. Some things are new, and some things are tried and true favorites, different things that you can use to attract birds to your backyard, different things for cleaning the feeders and bird baths and everything like that that you already have. And then some other really neat gift ideas and products that we have here at the store. So I know if you are anything like me, you've been spending a lot of time outside and in your garden, and we have a few things that have been super popular for that, some of which are brand new, but I thought I'd show you some of the new things first. We have what are called cooling towels, and these are really nice. You can use these not only at home, but if you're going camping, people put these in their cooler. What they do is they soak in cool water. So you soak this in some cool water, wring it out, and it holds in that coolness and the moisture, and you can wrap it around your neck and it'll cool you down. So the cooling towels are super popular, especially as we get into the later summer months and the temperatures start going out. If you're spending a lot of time in the garden, it can get quite hot being out in the sun. So cooling towels are great. We of course also have the gardening hats and that kind of thing, which can shade you from the sun. We've got the Wallaroo hats, which have been really popular with women, and then the Tilly hats, which are really popular with men. So if you're looking for a Father's Day gift, the Tilly hats are a really, really good idea for dad. And these are brand new, and these are super, super cool. They're called insect shield scarves. And so it's a fashionable scarf. We have them in different colors. We've got a lot of stripy ones in different colors, but they have some kind of insect repellent in them. So they don't really smell like anything, any kind of insect repellent, but it will repel mosquitoes, ticks, ants, flies, midges, no-see-ums. So, and it does say that it lasts for 70 washes. So these are pretty cool and different, especially if you're spending time outside. The mosquitoes are starting to really ramp up. So these insect shield scarves are one way you can protect yourself from them, but you don't have to use any kind of repellent spray. So those are really neat. And if you do happen to get a bite, we do now carry the bug bite thing, which you might have seen on Shark Tank. It's almost like a little suction cup, a suction that you place on your skin and you pull it up and it will extract the venom or the material that the bug has injected into your skin. It'll pull it right out. So something totally different. And brand new for us. So those have been popular. And then these are something that we've sold for a long time, but I think they're important. They're called the tick key. And these will help you remove if you get a tick on yourself or if you get a tick on your pet. They can remove not only the tick body, but the head, because you want to make sure if they are embedded in the skin that you get the head out, because even if you just get the body, they can still inject that spirochete that causes Lyme disease. So you want to make sure that you do pop the head off as well when you're taking a tick off of, especially, a pet or yourself. And so this will allow you to do it. It's just a special little tool that is made specifically for that. And in the garden, we've got the Atlas gloves back. We were out of these for a little bit, but these are our most popular gloves, the Bellingham Nitrile Gloves. They are washable, they're super light, and they're a really nice must-have for the garden. And we have the Snug, the little Snug headbands, or you can use them as a bandana. This is another way to kind of shield yourself from the sun. So these have been really popular as well. We've got them in different colors and different patterns, but this is another way to kind of protect yourself from the sun. So these are the Snug bandanas, which have been popular. And of course, it's always important to stay hydrated when you're outside in the sun. And my favorite insulated cups that we have here are the Swig. brand, and we've carried these for a couple years now. They're good for hot or cold beverages, so they'll keep them cold for hours. For cold beverages, it'll keep cold for 9+ hours, and hot beverages for over 3 hours. So this time of the year, they're great for your cold beverages. We have them in different colors and different styles, but these are really, really great. So I use these actually all year, but they're wonderful when you're outside because they do keep things just so cold. And they also started making these little can holders. These are for the Slimline cans. So these have been popular as well. And this is a brand new item for us. So I thought I would show you these as well. You can just slide a can in there, and same idea. It'll keep a can cold for 12 hours, and it'll keep something hot for over 9 hours. So pretty cool stuff. And this is from the Swig company. They also make reusable straws that we have from them. So we've got some different patterned straws if you're looking for a way to get rid of plastic straws from your life. We've got some of their reusable straws as well. And this is totally different, but it's pretty cool. These are called Vibe mugs, and they are another insulated mug, but they actually come with a speaker that attaches to the bottom of it. So it's a Bluetooth speaker. So when you're out in the garden, you can broadcast your music or your podcast or whatever you're listening to right to this speaker on the bottom of the tumbler. So you can not only take your drink with you, but you can take your media entertainment, whatever that might be, music or what have you, with the Vibe tumbler. So something totally different, but these are fun. They come in different colors, and they're rechargeable. So the speaker just has a little USB cord that it comes with, so you can recharge it at any time. So something totally different, which is pretty fun. So those are called the Vibe tumbler. And if you're looking for ways to decorate your garden, the solar lanterns have been really nice. It might be hard to tell from the video here, but it's etched patterns. This one happens to have dragonflies on it, and there's a solar panel on the top, and then there's a light right below the solar panel. So it'll take in sun during the day. At night, that light shines, and it will create the pattern that is on the lantern will show, if you've got this on your deck, it'll show on your deck, or it'll show on your lawn. So we have these in different colors and different patterns. We have some with butterflies. We have some with honeybees on them. We also have some that are just, stars or some funky patterns. So those have been neat. And I've got this one on my deck. I love this little, very simple little lantern. You can put a tea light inside. So it's just a little stained glass star, and the back opens up, and you can put a tea light in there, and then again it'll shine. The light will shine, and the different colors will shine at night. So it's just a really really simple and pretty way to spruce up your patio or your deck or anything like that. And if you're looking to attract some different things to your garden besides birds, we talk a lot about, of course, attracting birds, but we now have in the butterfly baths. So we've talked a lot about butterfly puddlers, and that's what this is. It says bee and butterfly bath, but really what it is, it's a bird bath. You could do this with any kind of bird bath, but it comes with all the stones that you need. So it's the bird bath. It comes with stones. You can also put some sand in there, or even a little bit of soil. You fill it with some water, and it'll give the butterflies and bees a place to land. Those stones, they'll sit on them, and then they'll absorb some of the nutrients that are from the stones or from the sand in there. So we do now have some butterfly puddlers that come with everything that you need for your garden. So with butterfly stuff, there's butterfly feeders you can get. There's butterfly houses, but the puddlers are really what will draw most of them in. The butterfly feeders, those are also pretty good. You might also get bees coming to those, of course. If you put out any kind of sugary substance, you'll probably get some kind of bee. So you can always put out your puddler, and then you don't have to worry about having another source of sugar for the bees to come. So that is a butterfly puddler. And I've noticed lots of last year's toads are emerging, both big and small, hopping all around. We do also have toad houses. We have toad houses and, believe it or not, tree frog houses. If you happen to hear tree frogs in your area, But these, if you put by a porch light, they can help attract the toad. The toad will go in here during the day, and then at night, the porch light will attract a bunch of insects. The toad will come out and have a blast eating all the different insects. And so we've got these in different styles. And you can even make your own if you happen to have a gardening pot that happens to be chipped or broken. They might have a big chip out of it. If you tip that upside down, you've got yourself a little toad house. You can also put a base on it, just any kind of little basin, so it collects a little bit of moisture. That can help too, because the toads and frogs will absorb that water right within from their skin. So their skin's really porous, and they will absorb that moisture. So something a little different and fun. And if you are going to the market, or if you're shopping at Wegmans and you don't want to use at Wegmans, you don't want to use those plastic bags for your produce, or if you're looking for something simple and reusable for your produce when you're shopping at the market, we now have these reusable mesh bags, which are great for that. So we've got some like this that are colorful. We've got them in pink and purples. We also have some different, more finer styles that are really good for produce at Wegmans. If you're weighing it on the scale, they're not going to be as heavy as this, and you can even attach your produce stickers to them. So one way to ditch some more plastic from your life. And another way to do that is with beeswax food wraps. If you haven't seen these before, these are pretty cool. We've got them in a couple different brands and a couple different sizes. They are reusable wraps made completely of beeswax, and you can use these to cover the items in your fridge. So you don't have to use plastic wrap, you don't have to use tin foil, and they're reusable for quite a long time. So you can seal everything. The warmth from your hands is what will cause it to seal, because it is a wax. And then you store it. You want to rinse it with cold water once you're done with it, and that'll clean it off. You just hang them to dry. They'll dry out on their own, and you can reuse them. So they're good for multiple uses. So that's another way, all natural way to store some of your food, and you don't have to use any kind of plastic or tinfoil or anything like that. So another eco-friendly product that we have here. And Father's Day is coming up, and one thing that's been super popular are walking sticks. It's kind of hard to see video, but we do have walking sticks in different styles. This one has a notch on the top, which makes it easy to grip, which is great. We have some that have compasses on the top, so walking sticks are great for stability. They also have a rubber tip at the bottom, so you can use these as a cane, but then a lot of them also have this little pokey part. I don't know what the official term is, but this is really good for if you're hiking. It'll go into the forest floor and give the hiker some more stability, so you can use it as a cane and also as a hiking stick. So these are a popular gift right around now for Father's Day, which is coming up pretty soon. And as far as bird stuff goes, there's some different things happening in backyards now with people. As we've been getting reports of nesting activity, you get the good and the bad reports of things that happen with nesting. One thing that does happen is predators raiding birdhouses. And if you do have that happening, we do have this called the Bird Guardian. So this is made more specifically for raccoons and squirrels. It's a little tunnel that you screw to the outside of your birdhouse, and so it makes that entrance to the house longer. And the idea with this is, I don't know if you can see it there, it makes it difficult for the raccoon or the squirrel to actually reach inside the house and reach down to raid that nest of eggs or of even the nestlings. So we do hear about that happening. Another thing that's going on in backyards is that sparrows will sometimes do that same thing. They'll go inside the house and sometimes kill the birds that are in there or destroy the eggs. We've heard mixed things about that tunnel working to keep sparrows away. It can help. We also still have some Sparrow Scarers, the reflective tape that you can put on top of your house once there are birds nesting in that house. Once they've laid an egg, you can put that on there, and that can help scare the sparrows away. But that is another thing that can happen this time of the year, unfortunately. And bird baths and any kind of water source are a great way to attract birds, not just Not all birds will come to your house or your bird feeder, but they all need some kind of source of water. So providing water is fantastic. We just got a whole bunch of new bird baths in this week. So our supply of cement and kind of fancier bird baths has been pretty bleak. We've been waiting for our orders for a long time, but we just got some in and even some more yesterday. So we've got a much better supply now if you're looking for kind of a fancier bird bath. So those are in. And some accessories that you might consider for a bird bath. This one's my favorite. The birds absolutely love this. This is a solar bird bath bubbler. It turns your regular standard bird bath into a fountain. So you can make it a bubbler like the picture shows there, where the water will just kind of bubble up an inch or two. Or you can turn it into a fountain so the water really sprays everywhere. On windy days, it can sometimes spray the water right out of the bird bath if it's a strong sunny day. But then you can just take that nozzle off and turn it into a bubbler so all the water will stay in your bird bath. And making sure your bird bath is clean is always important. We do have these enzymes called Bird Bath Protector. You add just a cap full of this to your bird bath every time you change the water, and it helps break down some of the stuff that kind of lines that bird bath, the pollen or the kind of the muck. I'm not quite sure what it is, and it can vary based on what plants you have in your yard, but having that bird bath protector can help break some of that down. And bird bath brushes. So bird bath brush, important to scrub your bird bath and make sure it's clean. So if you're looking for something that really has a lot of bristles and will do a really good job, we do have these bird bath brushes. Sometimes a sponge will do the trick, especially if you have one that's just dedicated for outdoor things. You don't want to mix and match your indoor and outdoor sponges. I'm always talking about magic erasers. Those work really well too, and those will just get the grime right off of your bird bath. And if you are finding that there's lots of debris under your bird feeders, just like there's enzymes to break down some of that gunk in your bird bath, there's also these enzymes that will help to break down seeds and the hulls or the shells of the seeds that are underneath your feeder. So this is called seed and hull digester. You can hook this right up to a hose and spray it right under your feeders, or you can just dilute some of this in water and use just a hand sprayer to spray it. So that's something, if you've got kind of a pile up underneath your feeder, usually you can rake a bunch of it up. So you can rake a bunch. You can usually compost it as well, or just, throw. But then the seed and hull digester will just help give it an extra kick and help it digest faster, so it's not all over the ground. And we are getting reports of hummingbirds coming to people's feeders, orioles as well. So orioles have been kind of hit or miss. Some people are seeing them still and getting them quite regularly, anywhere from 1 a day to some people are saying 5, 6, or 7 a day. So they still seem to be coming to feeders, especially if you have your birdberry jelly out there. They love this. It's a mix of grape and blackberry, and there's no preservatives, there's no artificial dyes or sweeteners or anything like that. So they absolutely love this. But we're getting to that time of the season where they're going to be spending more time with their nest and nestlings. And what we've found is once those eggs hatch, that they tend to switch their diet from a lot of sweet things like jelly and berries to more insect protein, because those young need lots of insects in order to grow really quickly and to leave the nest. So what you can do is switch to mealworms. We have both freeze-dried and live mealworms, and putting out some mealworms can really help keep those orioles coming, as well as other birds. Other nesting birds will eat these too. If you have chickadees nesting or wrens nesting, you'll see that they really love these mealworms. So they prefer live, but you can also do freeze-dried. And due to popular demand, we now have larger bags of freeze-dried mealworms. So we used to just carry small 3.5 ounce bags, but now we've got much larger bags, everything up to 11 pounds. So if you're really looking for a lot of mealworms, we've got them here for you. And if you've got an Oriole feeder that is just any kind of cup style, you can put your mealworms in here. Ideally, if you have one that has 2 cups, or if you have 2 different Oriole feeders, you can put jelly in one right now and you can put mealworms in the other, and that's going to be your best bet at keeping them coming. Especially if you start feeding them mealworms before they leave, before you stop seeing them, they'll know that there's a source for insects where they've been feeding, and that can help encourage them to continue coming as well. So keep us posted on your Oriole activity about whether or not you're seeing them and how often, because we'd love to pass that along to everybody. And it's hummingbird time, so everybody loves hummingbirds, and they love, of course, coming to nectar-producing plants, but at the moment, there's not necessarily a ton of them out there for them. Some things are definitely in bloom. The trumpet honeysuckle in my backyard has been in bloom for a while, and they seem to like that. But until there's a lot of other plants out there in bloom, they'll be coming to feeders quite often. And there's a bunch of different feeders you can get for hummingbirds, of course. Here on the East Coast, we only have one species, and they're quite territorial. So we have the ruby-throated hummingbird. So your odds of having a whole bunch of hummingbirds swarm your feeder all at once, pretty low. So sometimes you'll see videos and pictures of 20, 30 hummingbirds all around one feeder. Those are usually from out west. So the odds of you seeing that here on the East Coast are unfortunately pretty low. But your best bet to attracting a lot of hummingbirds is not to necessarily have one giant hummingbird feeder, but to have several small feeders, because they do protect their food source as well. So if you're looking for some kind of small feeders to put out there to scatter your nectar, so you're not using all your nectar in one feeder, we do have several different kinds. This one has been so popular. This is a mason jar hummingbird feeder, and it's super cute. It has a little mason jar lid, and there's little feeding ports at the top. You just unscrew the lid and fill it with your hummingbird nectar, and you're good to go. So this is quite small. And with all hummingbird feeders, you don't have to fill them all the way either, especially if they're not going through the nectar quickly. So you can only, you could fill even something like this, which is quite small. You could fill it like halfway, and that would be fine. The hummingbirds have a long beak, but they also have a really long tongue, which we've seen in some of your photos that you guys have sent in. So they can easily dip inside there and get to the nectar. So this is the mason jar hummingbird feeder, which is quite small. And if you wanted to add others, the key is to put them in places that are spread out, so they're not necessarily within eyesight of each other, because the hummingbirds do defend their food sources. We also have these little ones called the Hum Blossom, which are quite cute, and they're bright red, which helps. From the Aspects company, you might be familiar with their Humzinger Feeders, which are super popular. So they have a smaller version, which is a 4-ounce version called the Hum Blossom. So very small, but super simple. Same kind of idea as the last one. The top pops off, and you can put your nectar inside, and that's a great way to attract the hummingbirds. And the color red does bring the hummingbird in. So if you're having some difficulty attracting hummingbirds, you want to make sure that you have a feeder that is bright red. That can really help. You don't want to dye your nectar red. It's not known if dyes in the red dyes in the food coloring can harm the hummingbirds in any way. So you don't want to dye your nectar, but having a red feeder can help, or anything red you can put by your feeder can help as well. I've heard stories of people putting out bright red bows, like their Christmas bows. You can do that because the color does absolutely draw them in. And if you want to get a nice up close look, we do have this feeder called the Gem, which is a small window feeder that will suction cup right onto your window. So super simple and effective. If you're just starting out and haven't gotten any hummingbirds yet, I wouldn't start with a window feeder, but that it would be a good addition if you're looking for something to add to your collection. So the hummingbirds are quite bold, so they don't mind coming right up to a window once they've kind of found their food source. So that is called the Gem. And we do have different types of nectar. The ready-to-use sweet nectar has been super popular. This is what I use in my backyard. They seem to like this quite a bit. We have this for Orioles as well. If you still have Orioles that are drinking your nectar, the Oriole Nectar is citrus infused. So that it almost smells kind of orangey. It smells kind of good. And this one is infused with different wildflower extracts. So it has a little bit extra than just your regular sugar and water. So this is the Hummingbird Nectar we've got ready to use like this that you can just pour right into your feeder. And we also have concentrates that you add water to, and then you can put those in your feeder as well. And if you're putting out nectar or jelly or anything like that, you might find that you have extra little guests. Ants are definitely around in big numbers, and they're just increasing. Having an ant moat is awesome because it'll make it so the ants can't get down to the feeder. So you've got your feeder hanging here. You want to hang it from your ant moat. So your feeder will be below the ant moat. You fill this with water, and the ants can't get around the water to get down to the feeder. And as just like a little extra perk with these, what I found is that smaller birds, like the goldfinches especially, love these as a source to drink from. So the goldfinches and chickadees I've seen here and there too absolutely love this. So they don't come to my bird bath, but they come to this little cup. So even if you're not having ant issues, it is a way to provide the goldfinches with some water. They really like this quite a bit. And if you're not having luck with the hummingbirds, and you still want to have some kind of feeder out there, but you don't want to have to change the nectar all the time, you can do this humbug. And I've done this in the past when I've had years where the hummingbird activity just doesn't seem to be there, which is hit or miss with people. And I know some of you guys are experiencing that right now. The humbug is something totally different. You don't put nectar inside this, but it's a way to attract fruit flies. So what you do is you get a banana peel, you put it inside the humbug feeder, and that's it. That's all you have to do. That banana peel will attract fruit flies. They'll lay their eggs on it, which will create more fruit flies. The only other thing you might want to do is just add some more fruit material as the weeks go on, just so there's more food for them, because it'll dry out over time. The bright red will draw in hummingbirds, and they do eat small insects. So they will eat the little fruit flies that are on the feeder. So something totally different. They call this a protein feeder, the hummingbird protein feeder. So they do eat, small spiders and little insects. So the humbug is one way to bring them in. So it's kind of less time consuming than doing the nectar thing over and over again. So if you're not having success with the nectar, you can always provide them with some protein. Who doesn't want a diet of protein? And then of course our kind of other backyard birds are out and about. The woodpeckers have been nesting. We've seen your photos of them excavating cavities and the young inside their cavities. Soon you'll start to see those to your bird feeder. So a lot of the times the adults will bring the youngsters to the feeder, and the paddle tail feeders are great, especially for the little guys, because their balance is not quite good. So you can definitely tell when you have baby birds at the feeder, because first of all, they kind of look all disheveled, and then they are very awkward. So it takes them a little bit of time to learn how to perch on the feeders or cling on to the feeders. So having the paddle tail feeders are great because the woodpeckers will cling on to this section, and then they use the tail prop to prop themselves up to feed. And if you're having squirrel issues, the hot pepper suet is the way to go. This is our best seller. The birds can't taste the hot pepper. They don't have as many taste buds as the squirrels do, but squirrels can taste this and they don't like it. So that's one way to keep squirrels off your feeder if you are having an issue. And if you have a feeder that it's either off a deck or it's in a space where you can't put a baffle on it and you're getting squirrels coming to it and it's driving you bonkers, people have had good luck with these Squirrel Slinkies. So these, especially on something like a deck where you really can't squirrel proof it unless you have a squirrel proof feeder hanging from the hook. So if you have a feeder hanging from a deck or screwed in somewhere on the side of your house or screwed into a deck, and the squirrels are still getting onto it, putting this slinky up can help. The slinky will go onto the hardware, whatever you're using to mount the feeder, and the squirrels, because there's this metal kind of bouncing spring on the pole, they can't get a good hold on the pole. They have to hold onto the slinky, and it causes them to kind of shake all around. So if you've kind of tried several things and nothing has worked, you could try this. We also have something called Squirrel Slip, which is all natural and it's scentless, so it doesn't attract insects. And it's something you can put on your pole and it'll cause them to slip off. They won't be able to get a good grip on it. So we do have a couple things like that if you're having issues with squirrel proofing. And one of my favorites as far as squirrel proofing goes is the Squirrel Buster. And this is called the Squirrel Buster Classic. And I've had this in my yard for I don't even know how long, several years now. Never had a squirrel on it ever. It has nice big perches on it, so not only can you get the small birds, but you can get the larger birds like cardinals and grosbeaks. But as soon as a squirrel gets on it, it's weight sensitive, so the feeding ports, which the birds can access just fine, get closed down by this kind of gate here, so the squirrels are denied any kind of food. So I love my Squirrel Buster. This is the Squirrel Buster Classic. They make one that's larger called the Plus. They make some that are smaller. They make them for Niger and Peanuts and Suet. So you can absolutely squirrel proof your food if you do have the right feeder. And a couple other feeders that have been popular, of course, the Niger this time of the year. And the Niger is great for goldfinches, for the house finches, and they're bright, bright gold right now. If you're having issues with moisture getting into the feeder and causing some mold, having a feeder that has a base that pops out is super effective in helping with that. We have something called Feeder Fresh, which is little granules that's made specifically for bird feeders to absorb some of that, so you don't have that. Or you can also add a weather guard. So the weather guards are really popular in the winters when I use them. But if you are having issues with rain getting in, you can do these weather guards. And I really like this one because if you have an Aspects feeder, this top called the tube top will just slide right on top of the feeder. So it doesn't make your feeder any lower. You're still using the same little hook that the feeder came with, and it just sits right on top. So it's super easy to use. And if you want to give your finches a little bit something extra, the finch favorite is really, really good. They absolutely love this. It's a mix of Niger and sunflower hearts, ground up sunflower hearts. And I cannot keep it in my feeder. They eat so much of it. In fact, this is coming home with me today because I need a refill. So the finch favorite is absolutely the best thing that you can do to attract finches. You might get chickadees coming to it in the winter months. Sometimes I get a red-breasted nuthatch coming to it. So that's one thing you can do if you've been somewhat unsuccessful with getting finches or getting them to stay. The finch favorite just will give you kind of a leg up on the competition. And if you're looking for a blend in general, that's quite good. Our chickadee blend is our best seller. There's really something in here for any kind of bird that's going to come. So you've got all your bases covered. If it's a bird that feeds from a bird feeder, there's something in this blend called chickadee for them. Now, the one thing about the chickadee is that it does have shells. So if you're looking for something that is shellless, that doesn't cause a mess on the ground, you can do our Neat Treat blend, which has no shells, our Woodpecker blend, which is what I use, that has no shells, or you can just do straight sunflower hearts. And these are the inside of the sunflower. Sunflower is what's going to attract, out of any one type of thing, the most birds. So having sunflower hearts will get you that same kind of level of different bird activity at your yard, and you don't have to have the mess. So we have sunflower hearts in the small bags, 5, 10-pound bags. We now have it in 20-pound bags and even 50-pound bags. So if you're going through lots of bird seed, the sunflower hearts we do have in larger quantities. And you'll find that if you do something like sunflower hearts as opposed to black oil sunflower, not only will you have less mess, but because there's less shells taking up room in the feeder, it'll take longer for the feeder to go down. So the seed will last longer as well because the birds are getting more food per volume. So something else to consider. And then finally, as far as feeders go, I love these. These are awesome. These are the cylinders. We have them in different flavors. So the safflower is what I use the most in my yard because the cardinals like it so much. So I live in a place like most of you guys where I get a ton of sparrows. I get a ton of starlings. And, I still get cardinals and chickadees and some of these other, brightly colored birds that we all desire. But the main cast of characters are those grackles and sparrows. But with the safflower, the starlings don't really like it so much. So blackbirds don't like the safflower, and it's not the favorite of the sparrows. If they have no other choice, they eat this. But if they have something else to choose from, they leave this alone. So this is a great way for me to keep my cardinals coming because cardinals love this so much. House finches just go crazy for this every time I put it out. But I don't get some of those other birds raiding it like I do, my sunflower mix feeders. So the good thing about the logs too is that because it's not just a loose seed, the birds have to peck away at it for a while to get to the seed, so they're on your feeder longer, and you don't have to refill them as often as you do other feeders. Like my Squirrel Buster Classic here, I have to refill. They'll drain this in a day easily, even with other feeders out and other feeders full. But the logs will last more like a week or more. So depending on the flavor you pick, some are more desirable than others, but they last a really long time. And it is nesting season, so nesting balls are still popular. Birds are grabbing this nesting material. As we get further on in the season, you'll find goldfinches doing it more. Goldfinches build a really fluffy cup nest, and they use this natural cotton to do so. So they'll use natural cotton like this. They'll use plant down. So putting out a little nesting material will help them come to your yard as well. So that's all the birding stuff I had for you. But with it being summer, there are lots of fun activities you can do that are birdie. We do have wren house kits and bluebird house kits. These are great for kids or adults if you're looking for an activity to do in the summer. These come with everything you need to build a nice birdhouse for the backyard. And of course, we're getting into butterfly season, and we've got the little butterfly pop-up kits, and they come with a little voucher. So you send the voucher in, you get some caterpillars from their usually American Lady caterpillars, and so they send those to you with all of the food that they need to eat and to survive. They'll pupate, and then you put the container with the pupas in this little mesh pop-up here, and then the butterflies will hatch. So these are fun for kids and adults. Honestly, we sell them to everybody. And then you can reuse the pop-up if you do anything like raising monarch butterflies, which is a popular hobby around here. You can reuse that to do so, to just store your milkweed and keep your caterpillars in there, and then they will go through that whole metamorphosis process. So some fun different things that we have been selling and that have been popular here at the Birdhouse. And you can find all these things, of course, on our website too at thebirdhouseny.com. We've got some people on here. Randy says, nice products, and says, good morning. He says, house finches are back as well as chickadees. It's been a few weeks since a hummingbird visited. So Randy hasn't been seeing much hummingbird activity, it seems, either. So I'm in that same boat. So I might be changing out my nectar feeders for my humbug feeder shortly. Vicky is on and is waving hello. Vicky asks, is it odd that juncos are still around? I have a pair that look to be doing the mating dance. So it's not common for them to be here, but there are some that do breed here. So most of them have gone further north, and that's really where the majority of them are going to mate. But every once in a while, we do hear about a pair that will nest here. So it is a little odd, I would say. I haven't seen a junco in quite a while. So it's pretty special that you do have them here. And sounds like they might be doing the mating dance, that this would be the time. Ed is on and he says, wondering how often we should change out the hummingbird nectar from concentrate. Also, I think we have a juvenile pileated woodpecker that thinks he owns the bugs, nuts, and fruit log. He's at it constantly, going through a small log about every 4 days. So, yeah, the logs come in different flavors. Like this is the safflower log. We have one called bugs, nuts, and fruit. And every time I put out bugs, nuts, and fruit, it goes much faster than the safflower. That is very, very true. The birds absolutely love that. As far as the nectar goes, it depends on what kind of concentrate. We had Josh on from the Sweet Seed Company. He said their concentrates and they're ready to use will last for about a week. But if it's a different brand, I would change it out at max like every 4 days. So it can vary with where you have it, if it's in the sun or in the shade. But I would change it out at least every few days. So every time those woodpeckers are cleaning out one of your logs, it's time to refill the hummingbird feeder. So it looks like that's everybody's comments and questions for the day. We'll be back on Tuesday where we're going to talk about bats and attracting bats, talking about the different species we have here and how you can put up a bat house if you're interested in something like that. So they are great ways to control insects. So now is a good time to put them out if you're looking for a summer project, because as we go on into the season and the females have given birth, the males start to disperse and fill up other crevices and other houses. So you'd still be able to attract them this summer. Not a big breeding colony, but you could still attract some bats. So we're going to talk about that on Tuesday. We will be back then. Until then, have a great weekend and we will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.